Hey, Coach, the Cowboys, what the heck has happened?
This is a great place to
Jesus
start.
Christ.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get started this evening. Welcome to our homecoming stories chat this evening. Well, on behalf of the University of Houston, welcome to Homecoming Happy Hour. I'm Mike Fadday, class of 1989, AVP for Alumni Relations, and we are going to have some fun here this evening. We're so glad all of you could join us. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Wanted to remind you really quickly, make sure you have put your questions in the chat along the way, as we have a great panel of University of Houston legends with us today. And we want to get your questions in as we go along. We will have some open Q&A at the end of our program today. I also want to remind you of a few upcoming webinars that we have as part of our UH2U series. On Tuesday of next week, we will have Finding Balance, Tips for Managing Your Mental and Physical Health with our friends from the College of Education. That's Tuesday, November 17th at 5:30. We've got a couple more here that Billy Ray Brown will be in. He'll be interested to hear about Holiday Retail Reimagined, how to get ready for the holidays with our College of Technology and the Bauer College of Business, talking about the retail scene here in the holidays on December the 2nd at 10 a.m. And then we've got another one coming up that's really important, especially for our recent graduates, about Grad School 101 with our University of Houston grad school folks on Tuesday, the 8th of December at 5:30. So without any further ado, I want to introduce to you our panel of guests here today. And there, if you know these guys, if you know this group, there will be not much functionality and protocol to this conversation. This will be a lot of fun. We're so glad so many of you joined us. We're going to just quickly whip around who we have with us here today. Alois Blackwell, member of the University of Houston football team in the mid-1970s. I'll give all kinds of great stats here in a second when I talk to Alois. Billy Ray Brown, one of the great golfers in the history of the University of Houston and current member of the Golf Channel. Coach Wade Phillips, whose storied career includes the University of Houston, also includes a Super Bowl ring and many stops around the NFL. And our good friend Woody Williams, Major League Baseball pitcher and University of Houston Cougar in the mid to late 1980s. So, gentlemen, first off, I don't know what we expect tonight. We've all known each other long enough that this could get out of hand, but we're so glad you all are joining us. I'll start with Alois. I have a few little stats here that I want to throw up, and I know we have some photos that I think Kendra is going to put up there as well. So Alois came to the University of Houston at Aquero High School. He was a freshman in 1975. Oh, there we go. In 1976, he had feel free to chuckle along. He had 4 100-yard games that season and was the offensive MVP in the 1976 Cotton Bowl, rushing for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns, and also played in the the NFL with the team from Dallas and the Kansas City Chiefs. Hey, Lois, thank you for being here tonight. How are you?
Thank you for inviting me. I'm good. Good.
We're so glad you're here. We're going to come back to you in just one second. Billy Ray Brown. You'll recognize that face probably from just this past weekend if you watched the Houston Open. Billy Ray is the 1982 NCAA national champion. Look at those pants. That is so sweet. NCAA national champion. We'll talk about that in a moment. He was also a member of the 1984 and 1985 Houston Cougar NCAA golf national championships, of which we have 16 of those. He comes from a family of Cougars, and he has 3 PGA wins and is currently employed by the Golf Channel, and we'll tell some stories there. Billy Ray, how are you?
I'm doing great. Great to join you guys, especially on homecoming week. That's fantastic.
I know. Thank you so much. Coach Wade Phillips was a linebacker for the Houston Cougars back in 1966 to 1968. Number 27 in the linebacker days. I love that. He began his coaching career under Coach Yeoman as a GA in 1969 and started his professional coaching career with the Houston Oilers. Huge surprise. I forget who the coach of that team was, but the Houston Oilers, he started out his pro career with stops all over the NFL, and we'll go through those in just a moment. But he has a Super Bowl ring with the Denver Broncos just a few years back, and he has been the head coach of 6 NFL franchises in his illustrious NFL career. And Coach, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, great to be here. Great for homecoming. I love homecoming.
And Woody Williams. Woody had nothing to do with picking these photos. Woody Williams is joining us. A picture from the Houston Cougars in the late 1980s. There he is in one of the finest dugout facilities in America at Old Cougar Field when he pitched for your Houston Cougars back in 1988. He also played for the Toronto Blue Jays, the San Diego Padres, the Cardinals, actually the Padres twice, and retired after playing with your Houston Astros, an all-star in 2003, and also pitched Game 1 of the World Series for the Cardinals in his illustrious career. Woody, thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Look forward to this evening.
Woody, it looks great. You got Rainer Noble right there next to you as well.
Woody, we'll start, and you guys can all chime in as we go along. I know Jolanda Jones is going to join me as well. She hasn't joined us yet. She's getting off a plane, but Woody, we'll start with you because that picture is so much fun. You heard me make fun of the illustrious dugout facility at Old Cougar Field. Matter of fact, Kendra had asked me 3 times, "Is that Woody? Are you sure that's Woody? We need to make sure that's Woody in that picture." And I said, that is Woody. Woody looks like Woody. So how are you doing these days?
I'm doing well. You know, it's nice to see those photos. It brings back a lot of memories. And
nobody ages, right? Nobody ages.
No, nobody.
Nobody ages. So we're going to have a little open forum here today and just talk about your homecoming memories at the university. Not so much homecoming, but your memories of the University of Houston. We have a couple of 2 footballers and a football family guy in Billy Ray. So we have some homecoming memories there. But, you know, I wanted to start out with Coach Phillips in deference to his incredible loyal service to the University of Houston. Coach, tell us a little bit. You've seen a few homecomings. You've been part of a few homecomings and played in a few homecomings at the University of Houston. But, you know, we just recently lost Coach Yeoman a couple months back, and you played for Coach. Maybe just, I think it's appropriate that we start this conversation about homecoming out about some memories of Coach Yeoman. Can you give us a few?
Oh yeah. He was not only a mentor. He was a great person. As a man and not just a coach, you know, and that was a key thing with me is, you know, I grew up in a coaching family. My dad was a coach, but I was a GA there, and he really influenced my career there because of his approach to the players themselves. I mean, he treated you like a man, even when I was a freshman. So, and he made us do the right things and taught the right things the right way. But he was a special guy, and we miss him.
Now, back in the day, Coach, did you have any idea that what Coach was inventing would still be in vogue in 2020? That all these teams are running some form of this spread option offense?
Yeah, in fact, because we those 3 years I played, we led the NCAA and offense all 3 years by a long ways. So I knew it was something special. And actually, you know, it happened in spring training. You know, the tackle accidentally blocked down instead of blocking out on a play. And Coach Willingham, the offensive line coach, said, no, you made a mistake. And Coach Yeoman came up and said, wait a minute, let's just run it. Let's do that again and see how it works. And sure enough, there was the Veer offense, and it was fantastic.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you have a particular game that you remembered from back then playing? A particular one that stands out? I know that was when college football was being integrated, and you guys went and played in some places in the South that weren't so welcoming.
Yeah. Well, I have several. I mean, Texas, when we tied Texas 20-20, and they won the national championship that year. But our homecoming in '67, we played Georgia, who was number 5 in the nation, and we beat them 15-14 in the dome. That was homecoming in '67. I know that. And then and 1968 was something special too, really. You know, our homecoming queen was African American. The first team in the South to have a woman really to be the homecoming queen. So that you know, those are special things that not everybody had, but we did at University of Houston, and you know, we're all we're all people, you know, and we learned that there. And Coach Yeoman was great about that too, because, you know, they weren't recruiting a lot of, especially when I came in, the Southwest Conference didn't have any African American players. And we had, I don't know, we had 10, 15, 20, I don't know how many recruited. We had a bunch. They were all football players, and they were great guys too. So it was something especially different for me, because growing up at that time, you know, we had all white high schools and all black high schools, and it's not supposed to be that way. And then we came together at University of Houston and you know, played football and have great friends from that group still.
What a hugely pivotal time, because I guess right after that, Coach Lewis started recruiting Don Chaney and Elvin Hayes, and we know what that did for that program. So glad you are here. I have an interesting stat, Coach. Until 2011, you may not even know this. Until 2011, you held the University of Houston record for career assisted tackles at 228. Did you know that?
Yeah, I used to jump on the pile. You know? Those are assisted tackles, yeah. And Snake Drones and I held the most fumbles for a long time too. I know where that is, but
that's amazing. That's amazing. And that record stood. I love it. Jump on the pile. That record stood for almost 50 years or so. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
So Alois, you were obviously a highly recruited freshman out of Cuero. You came in 1975 as a freshman, but tell us how the invitation to the Southwest Conference encouraged you to come to the University of Houston. How did that influence your coming to the UH?
I think other than the Astrodome and Coach Yeoman being there my entire 4 years, that probably was the most monumental one, because when we were recruited from the standpoint that our class would be the first class to be able to compete in the Southwest Conference for the championship. So when we arrived at the University of Houston, it was all about getting ready to compete to win the conference championship in '76 and go to the Cotton Bowl and win the Cotton Bowl. So all those things, that was every day. And we played Texas our freshman year, and we beat them our freshman year there in Texas. So having the opportunity to be able to compete in the Southwest Conference for the first time, it was unbelievable.
You can. This is friendly. You're allowed to repeat that score if you'd like to put that up there.
30-0.
There you go. Thank you so much.
I like that.
I like that. We all like that, don't we? Huh? Even the baseball guys like that. We like that. Yeah. So you played at the university. So tell us about the Cotton Bowl, right? First Cotton Bowl the Cougars could play in, and
it was the first. Yeah, the first Cotton Bowl. Maybe some people don't really remember, but it was 75 degrees the day before the Cotton Bowl. So all the time that we had been in Dallas, it was very warm, and so you didn't have any cold weather at all. So we get a call that morning, a wake-up call that morning, and the person on the phone said it's 19 degrees outside. And it warmed up to 21 degrees by the time we got to the game. So that was a little different. We had always been playing in warm weather and then playing in the dome, and then having to play outside. Maryland was accustomed to playing outside in the cold, so it was a little bit more advantageous for them. And the University of Houston having a running attack, Maryland hadn't had a rushing touchdown scored on them all year. They had the second ranked defense in the NCAA. So that was a little bit motivating to be able to go in there and score against them and score some touchdowns and win the game.
Wow, that's incredible. So it's a good point to remind our attendees that you can, if you have any questions for our panelists today, our guests today, please put them in the chat, and we can look at those. The reason I say that as a segue, Alois, is that your friend Anthony Francis has said that you actually had hair in those days. So that reminded me to look in the chat.
A lot of hair.
That's great.
Helmet problem hair, or did the helmet still go on easily?
And no, the helmet still went on easily. No, not that type of hair. I didn't have that type of hair.
Hey, Lois, I remember you talking about the Maryland team, and as a young kid watching you guys play and growing up with you, Alois, obviously I'm much younger than you, so anyway. But remember Joe Campbell? I'll never forget. He was the defensive tackle there at Maryland.
All-American. Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest people that I'd ever seen next to Wilson Whitley. And I went, wait a minute. My brother's going to have to block him, and Alois is going to have to try to run. This is going to be a handful here this afternoon. But it wasn't. You guys, incredible.
Well, and I tell you, that's the coach, and Coach Wade. He'll be able to understand this. I watched a lot of film on him prior to us going and playing him, and I saw that he was basically a real aggressive person. And I felt like that since we would be playing in the Cotton Bowl, and him being an All-American and in position to be a first-round draft pick, that he would want to be even more aggressive than he normally is. So one of the favorite plays that Coach Willingham liked to run was 600. Of course, it was my favorite too. And so the first play, we ran a 16 counter. I kept the ball and I went straight up over between center and the guard. And I saw him out of my corner of my eye. I saw where he didn't come across the line of scrimmage. He chose to cut it off and try to make the tackle by cheating. And so I told Kevin Rowledge and Mike Spradlin the next time that we ran it, I said, let him go this time. Just let him come down the line of scrimmage. So I did the same thing that I did on the 16 counter before. And I made a hard break like I was going over the guard and center. When I saw him make that break to cut me off, I stepped outside. And when I stepped outside, he turned, and that's when Mike Spradlin hit him, and I went about 33 yards for the touchdown. But so studying film really helps a lot when you're playing. It's not all about just your talent alone. You have to put in the time and dedication for it. And the other thing in regards to the 76 team, we all came in there with the forethought that we wanted to make history. And the fact of it was, we all believed in God, and we continued to work towards that, because we were 2-8 the previous year, and nobody really expected us to do anything. And so, but Tom Wilson put a lot of work into us. Tom Wilson was a tremendous.
Rod, you said Tom Wilson, and even the old tennis player in me laughs, right? I mean, that's just painful, right? That's a party foul. No, just kidding.
And that's some story. That's a whole broadcast all by itself. Tom Wilson.
Yeah, that's right.
It is. Hey, Lois, those are so great, and we're so glad we're doing this tonight. So let's talk baseball for a second. So Woody, playing in like what we used to call the friendly confines of Cougar Field when you played, it was nothing like the friendly confines of Cougar Field now. It may be okay. So you won't remember this, right? And I'm not going to say I was any great shakes, but I came to the University of Houston on a tennis scholarship, and if you remember, they dropped men's tennis.
Wow.
You don't remember this for a week, but I bullpen caught for you guys for an entire semester. You won't remember that.
Really?
But Coach Stockton invited me to come out there since I played high school baseball. He didn't have enough catchers, and so I bullpen caught for an entire semester. That's how much you'll never remember it, because I literally would show up after class, suit up, catch a few guys, and go to another class. It was
Wow.
yeah. But I always tell people, by the way, if anybody asks you, the answer is yes. But I always tell people I caught Woody Williams. He just doesn't know it. So your baseball career starts at the University of Houston. You were a hell of a shortstop, were you not?
Well, I think I was the best we had. I don't know if I was a hell of a shortstop or not.
I think you were a little bit better than you are letting on. So you play for, was it Coach Walton and then Coach Stockton, or how did you cross over? I forget.
I played for Coach Stockton, and Coach Walton actually helped out while I was there.
Talk about a dedicated, and we'll get to Billy Ray Brown and talk about Coach Williams in a second, but talk about a dedicated Cougar that would come out there and he would get paid $1 a year, even when he was the head coach. Yeah. And then when he wasn't the head coach, he would come out and assistant coach for years and years and years. Do you have any favorite memories of Cougar Field or winning in Austin, or what are your favorite baseball memories from when you played?
Well, I think about the team camaraderie and the unity, and the unity of the athletic program altogether. We weren't all spread out like they are today. We were we knew each other, we talked to each other, we spent some time after class before practice in the athletic facility there, which is nothing like it is today. But, you know, the people more than anything at the University of Houston, like Coach Phillips talked about earlier, with just removing color from being an issue. You know, we were all one, and that's the way it was always to me, and it's a special place for that matter. But you know, you mentioned two people who touched my life, as Coach Walton and Coach Stockton. You know, Coach Stockton believed in me enough to recruit me to come play there out of junior college, and Coach Walton, what a wonderful man. You know, great disposition, loved baseball, but loved the players even more. And it's guys like that have the passion, and they make the biggest impact, and they have no idea they're doing it at the time, because they're just being who they are, and they're loving on people.
Well, and we have some incredible moments, right? We have playing in the Masters in the U.S. Open. We have winning a Super Bowl. We have the first Southwest Conference team and winning a Cotton Bowl. What was it like for you to pitch Game 1 of the World Series? Tell us how surreal that must be, to take the mound in the World Series.
It was pretty nice. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. It wasn't one of my better showings, but just to have the opportunity to pitch in the postseason and then pitch in the World Series, try to lead my team, it was a great honor and something I'll never forget. But, you know, when it comes to baseball and what I remember most about baseball, it's always the people. And a lot of times it's not the people that everyone sees in uniform. It's the people in the clubhouse and the trainers, the people that are doing all the real difficult work to make us look good.
So in looking for some quirky stuff to ask you, I'm guessing that Wikipedia is right, but I also checked on it. So you were the first pitcher ever to hit into an unassisted triple play. Did you know that? Can you?
I didn't know that, unfortunately. I remember it well.
Describe how that happens. Can you describe that for us?
We had men on first and second, and I don't remember the count, but we were playing Atlanta Braves in Busch Stadium. And Tony La Russa didn't like to bunt much, and he appreciated the fact that I used to play and could handle the bat a little bit. But I got a good pitch to hit. You know, my job is to hit it on the ground, hit it hard on the ground. Well, I hit it hard, but it was a line drive, and Rafael Furcal jumped up at shortstop, made a great catch. He touched second base because the runner was obviously running on a hit and run, and then went over and tagged the runner from first. So it was an unassisted triple play. Put him and me in the record books, and it cost me a win that night.
Great.
And I think there have not been very many unassisted triple plays, either on one side or the other. It's pretty incredible, and to have a pitcher hitting to do that is pretty amazing. So it's a fun stat. It's okay. You hit the ball hard, right? That's what people do. It's a line drive, coach. I hit a line drive.
That's right.
So Billy Ray, you and I know these too long, so I've kept this up here. So NCAA national champion in 1982. I think, are you still one of only 3 freshmen to ever win the national championship as a freshman?
You know, it's actually 4 now. Phil Mickelson came in behind it. At that time when I won, it was Ben Crenshaw, Curtis Strange, myself, and Phil Mickelson. Obviously, you know what he's gone on to, Hall of Fame career, professional golf. But those were some special times. But, you know, my time dates back all the way back to 1975 with guys like Mr. Blackwell. You know, I was a ball boy for a long time out there. And my history goes way back because my dad played ball there. Also, my brother played football there. But, you know, to be able to get there my freshman year and do what we did, I would have never won the national championship individual if it wasn't for Coach Williams and the rest of the other 4 teammates. You know, that's what, and it just goes exactly what Woody said. It's all about your teammates. And, you know, that's one thing I've always missed about when I went on and played, you know, on the PGA Tour for so long. I missed, you know, the competition with teammates, and now we're getting back into it now with at NBC and Golf Channel doing college golf. That year was certainly special, Mike.
The camaraderie on those teams that you played on at the University of Houston obviously started at the top. Dave Williams, was one of the single greatest people to ever walk the face of the earth. Talk about somebody who at the end didn't do it for $1 a year, but he would have paid you to do it, and didn't play a lick of golf, right? Tell everybody that. Didn't play a lick of golf.
Zero. The story's fantastic. Harry Falconer, really our athletic director at the time when he hired Dave Williams. Dave was a physics professor at the University of Houston, and asked him would he coach golf. We're putting together a golf team at the University of Houston. Well, that's all Coach Williams needed to know about. He was really going to put the time in. But with that being said, he was actually recruiting coordinator at the time when my dad went there, and he recruited my dad. Dave Williams recruited my dad after my dad met this guy named Forrest Gregg at SMU, and they found out that cold beer existed. And so he flunked out of SMU, and Coach Williams actually recruited my dad from SMU to come down to Houston. And that's where it all kind of started with Coach Williams. And, it's funny, my dad talks about how ironic story, and he's talked to Forrest Gregg a couple of times, but this was years ago. He said, you probably did the best thing for me, getting me kicked out of SMU so I could come to University of Houston.
And since that has carried through, the Brown family is as Houston Cougar as they come. And give us an idea of, I know you're super proud of your brother and yourself and your dad, but you're even more proud of your daughters. And
and it also, without them, it's obviously meeting Cindy there, a cheerleader, and she, she is the number one. I am obnoxious about my Cougs, and I travel the world. I am, and as well as I do, what Nance and I do on the road, as much as we work together, it's always about the Cougs. But my wife, a cheerleader there, she actually instilled that passion for the Cougars into the girls. Kendall played softball there now. I have Katie Ray, my youngest, is a softball player there as well. So, and it's funny, when they were getting recruited, they thought, that they might go somewhere else. They said at the end of the day, there's no other place they could go because it's such rich history in our family. And, everything that I do and everything that I have got to do through my life, I owe the University of Houston. I've made some great friends. And what Woody said, it's not always about your teammates, but all the people that we met behind the scenes that actually did everything for us to make us shine.
It's incredible, the history on the screen here today about longevity of the Brown family. I'll talk about longevity of Wade Phillips now, right? Been head coach at one point or another of 6 NFL teams, right? Defensive coordinator. The only one of the teams that coach you should have been the head coach of that you weren't was my team, the Philadelphia Eagles. But that's okay. We won't hold that against you. We could have used you in 86 to 88. I can promise you that. I know you were there and as the defensive coordinator, but I was just a young man at the time, still rooting for the Eagles. I can tell you I can die in peace now that we finally won the Super Bowl. But also I will say, Alois and Woody and Billy Ray, if you haven't noticed over Coach's left shoulder there, he managed to get a good backdrop of the Lombardi Trophy in his picture. Coach,
I did notice, Mike, because my eyes are blinded right now. It's so beautiful.
Coach, what's the secret to longevity in your profession? I mean, what was the secret? Obviously, being a great man with great moral compass, but not only in your personal life you have incredible longevity, and in your professional life you have incredible. Give the folks some.
Yeah. Obviously I learned a lot from my dad and Coach Yeoman about coaching and so forth. But, you talk about Philadelphia, and, I had Reggie White there, and then I coached Bruce Smith with the Buffalo Bills, J.J. Watt, Von Miller, Aaron Donald lately, Marcus Ware, almost all the great pass rushers in the league. I was lucky enough to be coaching on that team. So, a lot of us owe certainly to the players.
And with our history of quarterback,
if you win, you keep coaching. Now, you said I was 6 times a head coach, which I was, but I was also fired 6 times as a head coach. So I got a couple of records of it. Most times being the head coach and most times fired. So,
but your dad
probably won't be broken, either one.
Hey, Coach, your dad had a saying about about that, about a coach you never
Yeah,
coached till you've
yeah.
been. What was
There's two kinds of coaches. Ones that have been fired and ones that are going to be fired.
That's right. Because matter of fact, my senior year, he called me up at the University of Houston and he said, "Hey, Lois, this is Coach Phillips. I want to take you to lunch." So we met at lunch, and it was a place that was right there on Westheimer by the railroad tracks over by 610, right outside the Galleria, where I think that was one of his favorite places that he liked to go to. And so it was just really, I really thought that was really a highlight moment in regards to being able to sit down and talk to him. He's just like a regular person, and so he told me that in regards to being a coach. So I really appreciate the fact that he thought enough of me to call me up and take me to lunch. But he ended up taking Earl Campbell, which I can understand.
Coach, I have one more question for you quickly, and then I'm coming to Woody next. So we had quite a run of quarterbacks at the University of Houston while you were in the NFL that went into the NFL. Did you scheme a few of those? The David Klinglers and the Andre Wares and the Case Keenums and the Kevin Cobbs? Did you have to scheme those guys?
Well, I got to know Case pretty well. In fact, he lives around the corner from me now. So, so when I was with the Texans, Case was with us, and so I got to know him. And of course, the University of Houston, we bonded that way. But a great person. Those other guys, I don't think I played against much, but yeah, Case is a great guy and a really good quarterback. He still holds the all-time record, right? So.
Yeah, it's up. Yeah, I believe he does. I don't think anybody's.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. So.
Yeah.
But and he just got a new baby, so.
Yeah, that's a big win.
He's a great guy.
Big win. So Woody.
One other thing we didn't mention: 100-6.
100-6.
Oh yeah, that's right, Tulsa.
That's a good one. Yeah, I don't know if that was on homecoming, but that was a good one. Yeah. There's some great ones. I can tell you in my year, in Woody in my years, right, we had the 3-year run against Texas, beating them 60-40, 66-15, and 44-9. That made rooting for the football team quite fun. Did it not, Woody? That was a good time.
It was a good time.
So you're now in your 6th year at San Jac, helping the pitchers out. But I'm going to ask you an MLB question. So this past season, is it an asterisk kind of a season, or is it what did you think about the way they put together the season and the new rules of, as a pitcher and an old relief pitcher, what about the whole extra innings, put the guy at second base? I have to get your feel on that one.
Well, that's an awful tough situation we put in. It's stressful enough when you're out there in relief and it's extra innings because one bad pitch and it could cost your team the game. But I think Major League Baseball did a phenomenal job this year, working way through the season, keeping everybody pretty healthy. Wasn't too many COVID cases and times when they had to be shut down. It was only momentary. But I thought it was a fantastic season. It was exciting. And I can tell you one thing, I've never seen so many good young players as I have today.
Yeah, it is amazing. So you retired after playing for the Astros or thereabouts. You had 4 other teams, but the Padres twice in there. What was it like to put the Astro uniform on? Tell us what that was like.
It was nice, but the only thing that was I didn't appreciate because it was just into my career.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to start my last year with the Astros, and I stayed sore for the entire season. I never could shake it. So it was a grind to go out there. And, I only wish I could have got here a little sooner to play with the Killer Bees and that atmosphere of the stadium.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Billy Ray, quick question for you. The Masters starts tomorrow. The Masters in November. That is surreal as it comes, is it not? Give us your thought on the Masters. I'm not asking you to pick one. You're not working this week, so you might be able to.
Yeah, well, I will say it's very interesting because, it's, as we call the Masters, the rite of passage into spring every year in April, and now we have it in November. And what we're used to throughout the history of the Masters, the beauty, the azaleas blooming, and the condition of the golf course. from that, and that's been a big topic for quite some time, what it's going to be like. I understand they've had a very, very mild winter coming in, so the weather's fine there. But for them just to be able to get the Masters played in November, and then, you know, what's interesting about this is, one, it's going to be one without fans. Now, I will say Augusta National plays much more difficult from a player standpoint than without fans there, because there's so many exposed greens in the middle of some open areas at Augusta. And so it doesn't frame the greens as well as it does in the tournament. Because when I played there without the tournament, I thought it was much harder as shot making value without fans there, because there was no depth of session. Obviously, with the tournament going on, there's much more pressure. But to be able to facilitate the players, to get them in, crown a major champion, and more importantly, turn right back around in 6 months from now, play the Masters once again at its scheduled time in the second week of April. What's going to be interesting about this one is, you know, Tiger's incredible run last year of winning. It was probably one of the, in my opinion, the single most epic things that I've seen in golf, because he fought back 6 back surgeries. He's had, you know, he's reconstructed everything that he's done for him to come back and win. But now it's the dawning of the new age of the young player. And Mike, you were out last week, and watching these young men, young kids, I should say, play the game, power is premium right now. And I'm glad I got done. I don't have to do that for a living anymore, because these kids are good. And it's going to be very interesting to see. One guy in tune right now, Bryson DeChambeau, is changing the game with his length and his mindset. And for him to be able to tackle Augusta National, if he can implement his game plan and it comes to fruition, he'll run away with this thing. So I'm sitting back and watching this. I do not think a player that is that's not an overpowering player will win this week. That's my opinion. One, because of the nature of the golf course, but two, the weather. You know, it's supposed to rain all week long. In Augusta with the new tees, it's going to play very long. So premium will be on distance off the tee. And I'm looking forward. I'll be tuned in tomorrow. You know, this is the first Masters I haven't done in quite a long time because of the COVID and not doing Amen Corner. But I will definitely be tuned in tomorrow. I can't wait to watch it, because this could change if Bryson DeChambeau comes through and dominates like he did at the U.S. Open at Winged Foot this year. It will change the game in the near future. What he does for a young player, it would take years, 3 or 4 or 5 years to adopt what he's done. You know, he's massive now. He is absolutely so big and so strong, and he's got away from the quick weights. He's in heavy lifting and eating as much as he can and trying to hit as hard as he can, you know, and he's definitely changing the game. So I'll be certainly tuned in for the rest of the week watching.
Those of you that are with us, don't forget you can put some questions in the chat for us. We have a few here, and one I was going to segue to anyway, which is Rachel asking, and I'll start with Alois on this one, because we'll go kind of sport by sport, because I know each of you in your own way is really involved with the sport that you played currently at the University of Houston. I know all of you have relationships with our teams. And so, Alois, I'll start with you. When you watch the Cougars today, you know, one, how proud are you of watching our teams today, not just football, but all of them? And can you watch it a regular way? Having played, can you just watch the game, or do you watch which gap the runner's running into and who's not blocking, and that should have been a 6-yard gain if the center would just go to the right spot? I mean, how is it for – I know Coach and I have had this conversation in our production meeting that he watches defense. Like he starts the game and ends the game watching defense. But, Alois, how do you watch the game, and how you've given back your time so much to the university as the president of the H Association and all of your volunteer efforts, but how do you watch the games when you go out there on Saturday? Like, is it nerve-wracking? Or
You know, I it's hard to watch the game from an enjoyment standpoint and from an entertainment standpoint. So, yeah, it is. It's stressful. I just like, just take me to the end of the game and let me know what the score is, because you are looking at different things, especially being a running back. I'm watching how things are being blocked, what the running back's actually doing. Is he setting up is he helping setting up some of his blocks? Is he being able to make the cuts that he need to make? Those kinds of things. So I am a little critical of when I'm watching the game. So yeah.
Woody, I'll go to you in baseball. I know you're in your 6th year at San Jack helping the pitchers, and I know there's certainly a place those pitchers could transfer if they're outstanding. So just FYI. What's your relationship with the Cougar baseball team? And when you get out there and watch them, what do you think about them now, remembering old Cougar Field and really the ground that you set, right? That in that 80s and through, that really revitalized baseball at the University of Houston. What do you feel about that program now?
Yeah, I have a pretty good relationship with Coach Whitting, and we talk from time to time. You actually have 3 players from San Jack, which none of our pitchers right now that are on the roster at the University of Houston. It's incredible the facilities they have right now. It was incredible when they first built it, and now they have the big new building with the new locker room, a weight room, and training facility. It's come a long ways. Just when they got lights, it went a long way. And
I was there for the Notre Dame game on St. Patrick's Day, the first ever televised night college baseball game on ESPN. Remember that?
Yeah, that was the year before I got there when they had to bring in all the portable lights.
Yeah.
I grew up a University of Houston fan as well, and I was telling my cousin we used to go to all the games in the Astrodome and travel to the Cotton Bowls. And I told him who was on this panel tonight, and he said, "You know what? I still have Alois's chin strap from the '76 season. I don't know where it's at, but it's at my house."
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome. Coach Phillips, do you resist the urge to call Coach Holgerson and give him defensive tips, or do you do it anyway, or do you call? I mean, this is one of your very, very few off seasons. So how are you watching the Cougars these days?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, I watch the defense. It's just so hard to watch defense in college. I mean, it's just so many things going against defenses. I really feel for them to have to stop somebody because of how wide open it is and how hard it is to stop anybody. So, I pull for my team, so that's really the way I do it. I'm pulling for the Cougars all the way. So, no, I haven't given him any tips. That's for sure.
I'm sure they would take your call. Let's just say that. So, and how fast they go, Coach. I mean, the pace of offensive play calling in college football is just incredible.
Yeah, that's offense. The more plays you run, the more yards you make. No matter if you win or lose. That's they're going a lot for stats rather than winning sometimes, in my opinion.
Yeah. Billy Ray, the Project 17. We haven't won a national championship. We've won 16 of them, right? More than any other golf program. There's a few gaining on us, but what do the Cougars have to do? I know you have a great relationship with Coach Dismuke and know what we're doing out there and the facilities that they have to play on every day. Give us your feeling. Let's just talk about Billy Ray. Let's talk a little golf and let's talk a little softball, right?
Okay.
Since you're softball space too. Okay.
All right. Interesting. As you said, 16 national championships, more than any other program. Project 17 has been in place for quite some time, still looking for that. In the facilities, let's touch on that. Insperity has played a huge factor in the program's facility at the Golf Club of Houston. It is phenomenal. There's no excuses. You have a men's and women's program now that have access to some of the best technological aspects of trying to learn the swing, but also a home course that was home for the Houston Open for quite some time. And the one thing that they're missing, I will say this, and it's interesting, and Woody touched on it. It got me thinking. It's something that I have an issue with. It has nothing to do with the players. It has nothing to do with coaches, whatever it may be. I wish the players stayed together. They're spread out. They're not back in on campus. When I saw Top Hall and all the quad go down, you know, I just thought about it. And I talked to Jim about it. Everybody was looking at all the stories and all the team camaraderie that came from that dorm right there in that quad area, from baseball, football, golf, track. I mean, you know, you talked to Carl Lewis, and everyone lived in that area, and we were close. And that's one thing that I think is missing, that they are not housed together. And I think that is very, very difficult to get the team atmosphere and to let your leaders on the team lead by example. That stuff. And, you know, obviously, you know, Coach Phillips talked about, he got to coach some of the greatest players in the game. You know, one thing that we're missing, if we can get one lockdown player, you know, there's coaches always say, come in and help me change the culture. If Jonathan can get that one lockdown player that comes in, changes the culture, he'll bring a couple more guys in. It's very possible. Things are in place to get it done. Now, with that being said, other schools are in a push for arms as well, if you want to call, with their facility. And as much college golf as I do now at NBC Golf Channel, you see how competitive it is. And it's actually, the players are that much better. But I still think it can be done. You know, it's just, if they could get together and have a little bit more team concept with it, you know, but it's not allowed anymore. We don't have that athletic dorm. Things have changed that, you know, that we're just not all together all the time. But that's little stuff that to me is monumental.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I see that Jolanda's trying to join us. She has been traveling, celebrating her, let's just say her birthday. I know better than to say what number it is, Jolanda, right? But
I just turned 55, so I'm fine. Hey,
So
look at all these U of H greats.
Jolanda is joining us. Jolanda Jones. We all think we were athletes, gentlemen. Jolanda is a 3-time NCAA heptathlete champion, an NCAA top 6, which is extremely hard to achieve. A bronze medalist in the 1987 Pan Am Games and the 1989 U.S. champion. She's currently an attorney, and she's served on Houston City Council. She is a civic leader. She's on any number of boards, school boards, and other boards, whether elected or appointed, and really just a phenomenal human being. Jolanda, we're so glad you could join us. We have some fun pictures of you from back in the day. In fairness, we showed old pictures of everybody else as well. You may not be able to see that on your phone, but there's one.
I can see it. I can see it. I know those pictures. They always had me throwing the javelin, which was an event that I sucked at. And so I have no clue. I hate that. Like, why aren't they showing me high jump? I mean, I won Southwest Conference championship in that. But I mean, I won heptathlon championships. The javelin was a part of it, but believe me, I had to make up for how sucky I was in the javelin. But anyway.
We're so glad you could join us. We're just telling stories, and I was going to just ask if you had a favorite story from your time at the University of Houston. One thing I will tell you, you were standing in that picture next to Coach Tellez, and what he might have meant to you, but just your sense of the university from back when you were in school with me and Woody at the same time, what your thoughts were from way back when.
So when I was at the University of Houston, I was always in a battle with the athletic department, because back then, even though I won the Hertz #1 award, where I was the best at a press conference because everybody wanted to know where I was going to go to school, I get to U of H and I couldn't eat in the athletes area. So I was livid. When I moved in this is what stands out to me the most. When I went to the cafeteria, when I moved in right before school started, there was, I think it was an OB is where the cafeteria was, if my memory serves me correctly. So I saw a cafeteria that said, athletes eat here, and then I saw another cafeteria. So of course I sashayed my little self over to the athletes eat here cafeteria, and I eat there. So down. I'm standing there with Trey, they're saying, we can't serve you. And I'm like, yes, you can. I'm a full scholarship athlete. I make straight A's. I had a press conference. I'm the only girl I know to have a press conference. They were like, no. So I stand there for probably 30 minutes waiting to get served. And they're obviously not going to serve me. So I march over to the athletic building, which was over by where that Fertitta Center is now. It's not there anymore. And I go in there and I find out that I'm not considered an athlete, even though I'm on a full ride. That only football, men's basketball, and golf got to eat in that cafeteria. I was hotter than fish grease. I was hotter than, and I spent, I'm gonna say it again, football, men's basketball, and golf, because golf had won like 16 national championships or something. And I fought the whole time I was there for women, for girl athletes, actually non-revenue supported athletes, to be able to be considered athletes. That is the memory. That's the very first memory I had at the University of Houston once I moved in. And anyway, so that may not be a happy memory, but it's a memory that stands out because O.J. Simpson, before he killed Nicole, gave me, I believe he killed her. You can't convince me otherwise, but I won the Hertz #1 award, which at the time he was a Hertz spokesperson. So I got flown to New York and presented a Hertz #1 award with OJ. And that same year, Craig Hayworth won it for Pennsylvania, and I couldn't eat in the athletes' cafeteria at the University of Houston. So that's my memory.
Well, the webinar just went to another level. I'm telling you, I know Jolanda would bring it. Yeah, I'm telling you, we're gonna get first class. I mean, the viewer rate just went up. I got people making phone calls. They tune in right now.
Well, I do know, and I know you're coming in near the end here, Jolanda, but we are super proud of you, as I've told you a million times, and what you've achieved not only on the track, but in civic service and philanthropy and the things that you do on behalf of underserved communities and all of that is really something to be proud of. And I know you've kind of dedicated your life to that, and that's a big deal. And so you deserve to go off and celebrate your 55th birthday. Alois is having a birthday tomorrow, by the way.
Yes, sir.
No, his birthday is 6 days after mine. He's November 12th. Alois is a good friend of mine. But one of the things I want to say, because I always got called, like people always paid attention to my sports, but I won the NCAA Top 6 award, which you mentioned, which no one from U of H has ever won that except for me. And it's probably the award that is the most important to me as a scholar athlete, because they picked the top 6 scholar athletes. So we had to make really high grades in that year. All the other people, I actually didn't think I was going to win, because the schools that were submitting people were Rice University, Harvard, Yale, USC. And when I won, I was surprised. So, because back then they called us Cougar High. And so I didn't know if they would respect the academics that I got. So even though I won a bunch of national championships, winning that award, and again, no one from U of H has ever won it except for me. That's what I'm most proud of, because I was always more than an athlete. My mother whipped me when I got 97 A's rather than 100 A's. So I was always an A student, and that's one thing I try to tell athletes, because your athletic careers are going to end at some point, and you've got to have something to fall back on, and the best thing to fall back on is your brain. So that's what I'm most proud of. So.
Well, I know these other 4 guys on the screen, and when I said NCAA Top Academic 6, none of them raised their hand that they were the winners.
I mean, nobody from U of H just won that, except for me.
It had to be you. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do. It's been, I mean, I so appreciate you jumping in near the end and making time, coming from the airport. We really appreciate you joining us, and I hope you had a great celebration of your event. We've been just chatting here. We just have a couple minutes left, and I'll just throw this out there to the group. Jan has asked a question: when facing challenges, how do you guys overcome obstacles to reach the next level, right? Taking into account your successful experiences, do you have any tips on how to achieve success overcoming obstacles? Anybody want to take a shot at that in a 2 sentences or less period of time?
Day by day.
And failures.
Go ahead,
If I didn't have any failures, I've never been able to succeed. Just built on failures that I had and then persevered.
Yeah, Jolanda?
So two things. The first thing I'll say is I wrote a book called Owning My Shit. Shit stands for suffering, hardship, internalized.
Uh-oh.
Like when he blew his brains out. But for the most part, the way that I succeed is I look back at all the really difficult stuff that I made it through, and I, for the most part, have a mindset of if I got through that, I can do this.
Yeah, that's really good. Hey, Alois, you had a comment? You were.
Well, one of the things that I look at the fact that even like when I played football, I can always do better the next day. No matter what I did today, I can do better tomorrow.
Woody?
With me, it's don't let the obstacles or the hard times define you. Let it shape you and mold you.
Coach? You haven't had any obstacles in your career?
Well, hard work and good times go together. Hard work comes first.
Yeah.
That's really, really good. Well, I want to thank all of you for coming. Jolanda, thank you for sneaking in from your trip. We did put the link to Jolanda's book in the chat. If you want to find her book on Amazon, it's in the chat there. Have you guys written a book?
Or you can buy it from me. Or you can buy it from me directly. I get more money when I sell it and not Amazon.
If you want to do that,
just
reach
like
out
Amazon is. I will. I'll give you how they can get it.
Reach out to us in the alumni. Coach, you have a book, don't you?
Yep. Son of Bum.
That's right.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sure does.
It's on Amazon.
I think that's his Twitter handle too.
Or just get with Yolanda and she'll get it to you.
So Billy Ray, are you still golfing?
I'm still just doing the television, Yolanda. That's it. I'm done. Playing days are over with, just doing television now. So home for the week, but on the road. We're back at it again.
So do you have like back problems and stuff from all that swinging?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you say that. Yes, I've got it pretty bad, to be honest with you. That and knees and hips. So
that's what they don't tell us as athletes, is that our bodies are being torn up and we just don't even know it.
The millions and millions of balls that you hit and all that you did, yeah, my knees, my hips, and my back are not good. So,
and it wouldn't be a homecoming webinar on homecoming week if I didn't ask you to make a pick. The Cougars are playing South Florida on Saturday. I think I know what the picks are going to be. Would anybody like to? All right, Billy's got the Cougars. Alois has got the Cougars. Wade's got the Cougars. Jolanda's got the Cougars. So with that,
so do I. Yeah, I do.
We appreciate all of you making the time tonight. We're so proud of all of you. The things you've achieved, your Hall of Honors in Athletics, your Distinguished Alumni Awards, your all the things that you've done, your NCAA top sixes, which is incredibly, in my intro, Jolanda, I said that, how incredibly difficult that is to achieve. We're super proud of you, and I so thank you for making time tonight. I know our alums do, those who've watched live, and the ones that will watch this as a recording. So on behalf of all of us at the Alumni Association, we're here for you. Thanks for being here for us. And I hope you all have a great night. Thanks so much. Good night. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye, guys. Enjoyed it.